You want to know the purpose of life? It's to glorify God by doing the work that you were sent to do. Here's the thing. Life is not about jobs. It's not about bills. It's not about taxes. It's not about credit scores. It's not about your net worth. It's not even about your bank account balance. It is simply doing the work to which God sent you to do. You have to realize that you were literally sent from heaven to earth to fulfill a mission that only you can accomplish. But as my late great mentor, Dr. Monroe, always said, until you understand the intention of a thing, you'll never understand its design. Until you know what was on the inventor's heart, you'll never know what you were called and sent to do. So what that means is I want to give you some practical tools, and I really want to stress three things. Is number one, what you were sent to do is evident from childhood. If you look at me, I've always been a person who really craved learning, and I was always a person who enjoyed encouraging other people. See, you didn't have to teach me to do that. You didn't have to train me to do that. I did have to work out those things because, interestingly enough, while I am social, I'm antisocial at the same point. It was intent, honestly, for me to understand that I have this gift and this desire to connect and relate to people and to encourage people, but I'm actually really shy. People who know me from childhood, middle school, even high school will actually tell you that to be the truth. But see, for me, it was, I felt that yearning and I understood that it was a skill that I would be wise to begin to intentionally refine and develop. And so I leaned into that fear, like around sophomore year. I say that to say this. When I look at my own childhood, there were a few things that were always present. For one, I always loved Legos. I always loved cars. The interesting thing of it is, as a real estate developer, I build property, single family, multifamily, commercial, residential, largely in, large scale land development. But in that, what that process and that journey as a child taught me is how to follow a process from beginning to end. Because what? Legos typically come with 50 to 100 pages of instructions where you have to connect the dots one block at a time. I share that because there are gifts and strengths that are evident in your life from childhood that no one had to teach you. I look at my own sister. As a child, 7-year age difference, she always wanted to play school. It was evident from the time she was about 8 or 9 that being a school teacher is who and what she was designed to be. That's what she is today, very successfully. However, I understand that if you have a lot of interest, that me simply giving you an initial step of evaluating your childhood experience, I need to give you a more practical experience. As the author of Big Purpose, the world's first step-by-step guide to discovering your life purpose, available, on, Apple Books. You can find it online, or better yet, click the link in the bio to Developer Nation. And when that app launches, I will connect you with that resource. The point that I'm trying to make is, as I detail in my book, Big Purpose, the good book, in the book of Romans, chapter 12, tells us something very critical. The concept is known as motivational gifts. What Paul illustrates or writes in Romans chapter 12 is that we have all been given a gift and we are to use them. And what the book of Romans chapter 12 names are 12 different gifts. Such as, exhorter, teacher, server, administrator, giver. Those are just 5 of the 7. Read the book of Romans chapter 12 and you'll understand what I mean. When the word instructs that we are to use the gifts that are given to us, that is critical because that is your default programming, myself included. I am an exhorter teacher. There's no mystery as to why when I engage anyone in conversation, my goal is always to share information with you and to encourage you. Why? Because what makes me upset in life, my passion. The word passion means suffering. What my passion in life is seeing people not realize their potential. Yet again, it's no mystery why, if you look at my life, it has always been positively riddled with wanting to elevate people. As the founder or builder of People podcast, that's exactly what I'm doing. I wasn't taught or trained to be this. This is what I am. The key is, what is your what I am? Because ultimately, where your gifts are is exactly where your blessing and breakthrough is. You see, it is when you'll begin to work for God and not for corporate America that you will enter a knowing, a longing, a peace, and a prosperity that God is not obligated to provide for if you are not doing the work to which he sent you to do. And so as it relates to motivational gifts, when you begin to understand your design, right, you can now be intentional as to what you do and what you don't do, helping you to understand that whatever your it is going to require those ingredients. The interesting thing about motivational gifts is essentially like a pair of sunglasses, which colors the way you see life. You see, I can't help but want to impart and encourage, because that is how I see life. I see life as the glass is half full, not half empty. I see life as an ever-evolving process where I remain interested and curious about everything on a daily or at a minimum on a weekly basis. I ask God very specific, complex questions about everything from purpose to finances to real estate, to relationships, to parenting, to faith journeys, to business success, because we'll never find an answer to a question we don't ask. And so what that ultimately means, and what I want to impart in you as my greatest desire, is that, again, it is fulfilling the purpose to which God has called you to is the only thing you should busy your life with. Yet again, if you look in the book of Romans, what Paul tells us is that when we are held accountable, our works will be put to fire. Ultimately, what God wants to separate is real from the fake, the gold, the diamonds, the pearls, from the busyness and the foo-foo to which we chase. Because I'm going to be honest with you, other than if your name is in the Lamb's Book of Life, the only other thing God will ask you, this is in the good book, is have you done the work I sent you to do? And if you think your bank balance, your credit score, your resume, your degrees, your success is going to be an acceptable answer, it will not. Now, will it mean the difference between heaven and hell for a person whose name is in the Lamb's Book of Life? No, you in that thing. But you have to understand, life is simply a job interview for an eternal position, as I write in my book, Big Purpose. Life is simply a job interview for an eternal position. And so ultimately, the roles and responsibilities to which you will for eternally operate in is going to be on the sole premise on whether or not you fulfilled the work he sent you to do by glorifying him. What you have to understand is that everything related to everything is about glorifying him. See, what you don't know is the galaxy we live in, the Milky Way, is one of 2 trillion galaxies. Literally, the entire universe by the second is continuing to grow. And what does the word tell us about that? Is because yet again, God is demonstrating his wonder and his glory. Ultimately, you are that by evidence of your life. Your life is not a mistake, ma'am. Your life is not a mistake, good sir. I don't care what situation or circumstances you got here in. The fact of it is God qualified you and called you to do your work. Now, will you do it is the question. The unfortunate reality is this. Studies say roughly 2% of all people know their God-given purpose, and only about half live it out. So about 1% of the entire planet knows and is operating in their purpose. Now, I don't want to make this thing about money, because that is an outcome of long-term diligence and obedience. But it is something that we have to consider, which is that, interestingly enough, about 1% of people control over 80% of all wealth in the world. Why? Because God is not obligated to prosper and bless plans and works that he didn't design. And ultimately, what that means is heaven's provisions are not guaranteed to us unless we're doing the work of which he sent us to do. Why? Because we are going to, in more cases than not, squander and ultimately create destruction in our life and others if God were to bless the things to which he did not equip you or qualify you to do. In closing, I want to remind you of this. The purpose of life is to glorify God by doing the work he sent you to do. Because your earthly success has no relevance to God. He don't need your help in that. It ain't about accomplishing things and collecting accolades and milestones, right, for your own glory. Because why? Because then it's for your glory. What I'll share with you is that your purpose is evident from childhood. Really begin to think about what were you skilled and good at without any assistance or effort. For me, it was always building things, right? Even as I mentioned about cars, my interest in cars is really nothing to do with cars. It is just a reward. It's just a hobby. Essentially, it's art on wheels. But ultimately, it does color the way that I see and live life. Your motivational gifts, as the book of Romans 12 tells us, God has given us all a gift. We are to use it. Mine is as a teacher exhorter. What's yours? Simply by basic review of Romans 12 and being prayerful, you're going to discern and even talk to those who are closest to you. If you grew up close to your mom, or father or siblings or a grandparent, say and ask them, real talk, what was I always interested in? What did I seem to be good at from an early age? How am I and who am I by default? Not how I was trained, but how I am naturally wired. Motivational gifts in Romans 12. Once you know those 7 gifts, you spend some time with yourself, prayerful about it, ask those who are immediately close to you, and you'll begin to really grasp who you are by default, which is the perfect essence of you. And then last but not least, fulfilling your purpose is the only way to make sure you maximize what your roles and responsibilities are in heaven. Because life, as I said, is simply a job interview for an eternal position. As always, I'm Shaun J. Ford, or you can affectionately call me Uncle Shaun. I am a real estate developer as well as founder of Developer Nation. Developer Nation app link is in the description below, launching in late April. And what we do is we partner with you as a community, practicing group economics to help educate you and equip you to do small and large scale real estate development, where we will partner with you to bring your project in partnership in front of our capital partners in order to help create the generational wealth, because real estate and everything that it is intended to be a generational legacy and purpose for your children's children. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow on all platforms. And as always, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. I will see you in the next one.